It's a season of joy and merriment.
To the viewers calling into our programs, to our daily guests and contributors,
to those who advertise with us, to our followers on social media,
we say thank you.
We say thank you.
We say a big thank you and wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
If it's all been trending in the entertainment industry, then we'll definitely be talking.
Hello and welcome to Space and Style, a property show designed to connect various stakeholders across the property value chain. We can also provide realistic solutions and deepen your knowledge about the interesting world of real estate. We shall showcase architectural design, interior design trends, lifestyle and real-time property news updates, and the right way to navigate through property development and investment. Join me every week on this channel as I take you through an exciting journey in the world of real estate.
Space and Style, 6:30 p.m. on Saturdays and 5:30 p.m. on Wednesdays.
Residents of Magodo Phase 2 in Lagos stand guard against possible demolition of buildings in the area after a siege of supposed hoodlums and a bulldozer.
Also on the breakfast, Nigeria's economy is in the spotlight after passing of a 17.12 trillion naira budget by the National Assembly. What prospects are there for the economy in 2022?
And as always, we take a look at the papers this morning for a quick review of the biggest stories making headlines. Always great to have you on the breakfast here on Plus TV Africa. I am Osaogie Ogbonwa.
And I am Mercy Bopo. It's good to see you. Merry Christmas.
Yes, same to you. And of course, we had to completely get into the Christmas spirit with our very, very interesting hats this morning.
Of course.
Yours looks pretty interesting.
As well as yours.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Her name, of course, is Shatu Garko. And, of course, the Kano Hisba has threatened to question the parents of Miss Garko for allowing their daughter to participate in the Miss Nigeria pageant. This, of course, has created a lot of, conversations across social media and, of course, across the country, asking why this is necessary. They are saying, according to the Kano Hisba, that the Miss Nigeria pageant is no different from the Big Brother Naija show, a reality TV show, and the parents should not have let their daughter, who is from Kano State, to participate in the pageant.
Now, shortly after she won that, contest, the arguments were on both sides. Now, you have some persons who were saying, oh, yes, it's good to see decency win. And I would always say that that's not the only criteria for measuring. Most times it's not about the outfits. They also put out questions there where they ask you. And if you're able to answer some of those questions and come up, with some level of creativity, all of this are some of the measures, that are being used mostly in some beauty pageants as I'm sure that it won't be different from the Miss Nigeria. So not necessarily, the outfit, because a lot of persons made the buzz about having to dress, very decently and all covered. But like I said, looking at these ladies on stage, I mean, at this particular stage, you could see that they are, properly dressed. So there were some persons who said, oh yes, it's a good thing to see decency win. It's not all the time that you have to put out your body there. But of course, we know what beauty pageant's about. And on the other hand, now some it's been guaranteed by the Constitution. I mean, we're allowed to, choose which religion or association we want to, that will pan out and why that should be done?
So for me, you know, it really depends on what any person describes as indecent. I've never looked at the Miss Nigeria pageant and seen anything, or, you know, in my head thought of anything indecent. It's really just about, you know, personalities and Nigerians deciding to throw words, you know, here and there. So I don't even know where that, you know, conversation is coming from about, you know, being indecent to win. You know, that's, you know, on, you know, your first statement. But for me personally, you know, I really just see this as, you know, another moment where you would expect that we would be celebrating the fact that, you know, in 44 years, they're free to do what they choose to do. And so I thought that Noah's Ark landed. And that era, and that's simply what, you know, this means to me, and every single day, because we move from them talking about, you know, mannequins, you know, people who are against Western education. You know, in my opinion, it's not different from it. It is simply, you know, a group of persons who have decided that they would not grow, they would not move forward, they would not be forward thinking, they would not try and change, you know, the laws and the religious practices and the thinking, you know, that their forefathers, you know, lived with. They would not in any way try to be better, try to be developed, try to be, you know, to move into the 21st century. They want to remain in the 18th century, maybe in the 17th century, and that's where their mentality chooses to remain. Another thing is, it really just tells you that the concern of northern Nigeria is not insecurity. A lot of people in the north, I remember we spoke about this on Tuesday.
Yeah, you just took that out of my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about this on Tuesday, and I was saying that that's one of the reasons why a lot of people see these protests about North is bleeding, and they just, you know, throw their face the other way. Because when you hear stories like this, you get to maybe tell yourself that these people are not really concerned. Their priorities, you know, currently in northern Nigeria and of course across the country, their priorities for themselves are not about security and getting a better life for themselves and getting proper government and getting education, healthcare, infrastructure, and some of all those things. That's not their business. They're looking for more ways that they can strangle, you know, in every space that still has this type of thinking and still wants to take us back into, you know, the time when Noah's Ark just landed. And that's honestly what we should be doing. Anybody who's still thinking in this manner, who still holds on this tight to whatever religious practice or beliefs that they have, should be completely chased away, you know, with brooms.
But you know that's not going to happen. That's because we're very big on, you know, religion as a country, and that will constantly. Yes.
If we're still that big on religion, that isn't taking us anywhere in any way.
We are, and sadly, like you have talked about, one would think that the Hibsba police would be very proactive with the insecurity issues that the northern, you know, region is actually going through. I mean, with all of that, we haven't seen arrests because we constantly say these persons who commit and perpetrate these crimes don't live in, you know, don't come from space. They live with us. Do you know these persons? I mean, they could be your uncle, I mean, our uncles, brothers, sisters, aunties, what have you. So your friend, the next door neighbor. So how come we don't?
Mostly, you know, religious, you know, police, if there's anything like that. They're not necessarily, you know, a security agency like Amotekun or like Ebubeago try to be. You know, but you know, I still believe, you know, that we don't even necessarily, and this is me thinking, that we don't even necessarily need to have. It's fine to have Hizbah, you know, but
my point is this: if you know, it's like saying you have the vigilante groups and you have all of this. They are not necessarily security bodies or agencies or what have you, but of course they perform this play that role of, you know, security. I mean, if you're going about arresting and saying, oh, this one is not doing this, or this one did this person should be flogged. So how come they're not also being proactive in terms of security and looking out for these elements who are committing these crimes and trying to, you know, work in hand with the police?
Well, that's my point. Once again, you know, they are not that body, you know, and they basically have been saying anything concerning security. They are shaving people's head because relations to Shatu Garko. And I hope that once again Nigeria learns that, you know, our focus should not be on some of all these things. You know, we should really.
While also moving to Kaduna State, where the governor, following all of the insecurity concerns, bandits, because there are laws make provision for issues of murder and crime, killing for just cause. So, but what does the law say about, you know, killing? Why are we not allowing the law to take its course? And then we say they are repentant. How are we sure that they are repentant? Then because I feel like this would constantly encourage people to continue in the act, continue committing crimes, and then they feel like they get to a point, we're no longer committing this crime, we're surrendering. How do we now measure that? How do we now believe that they're no longer committing this?
I think it came from. One of them is some of the military programs that were run in the north. Some of them included the chance of rehabilitating these bandits, and so they had to find a way to explain why they have been rehabilitated, and that's where the idea of repentant bandits or repentant terrorists came from, which is one, in my opinion, another way that Nigeria has shown its level of unseriousness with fighting insecurity and fighting terrorism. As for Governor El-Rufai, I think we also, as Nigerians, place too much, is what the law says and what the Constitution says. If you have committed terror, then there is, of course, laid down laws that should take place, and should take precedence. Not, whether the governor believes this or the governor believes that. The governor should not be the one to tell people whether to, to forgive repentant terrorists or not. We shouldn't even have that conversation, because there is a law that already has been put in place that should guide, our actions concerning these persons. But because we continue to play around with these things, that's why they continue to persist. I shouldn't be bothered, what any person thinks or what any politician thinks. Yes, those are some of the things that should guide you into deciding whether to vote for them or not. But as long as there are still laws in place, as long as there's still a constitution, then really shouldn't care whether he thinks that they should be killed. And remember also that these are also, ways that we eventually push ourselves into extrajudicial killings and then eventually start to regret. If a governor says that they should not, be forgiven, it's not like repentant bandits, because what he says is there's nothing like repentant bandits, that they should, be killed, and of course they should repent when they meet God. It means you're simply opening the door for extrajudicial killings, which shouldn't also be. There should also be a, pathway through which judicial service. And I'm sure that analysts, security agents have said this multiple times, that nobody can just simply wake up. And even if you do, be done to terrorists. And, that's simply it. Nothing more, nothing less. It doesn't matter. The lives that have been lost in the last couple of years in Kaduna State and the whole of northern Nigeria. Doesn't matter whose emotions or whatever, sweet statements.
Like I always say, it's not rocket science. Whenever we're ready to tackle the issue of insecurity in our constantly talk about it without any action. We're getting to 2022, and I really do not know what the plan is. But of course, it's security. And you're not expecting that you should have the security agencies or you should have anybody come tell you what the strategy is. But we don't need to know. All we need to do is see action. And that's the only thing we need to do. But it's just a reminder that government at all levels should understand that security is the #1 priority. It's the reason why you were elected. That's the first thing. And when people begin to act helpless, because I've seen, it feels like it's a helpless situation. So we hear governors, we hear people who just act like, oh, we don't know what to do. We can't do X, Y, Z. Or we're rather asking that.
Nations compulsory nationwide. It started in Cross River State, I believe. And the Ebonyi State governor also, jumped on this same, conversation and agreed that, the students and pupils in Ebonyi State will very likely also join in and take NECO examinations as a compulsory examination. Governor Ben Ayade, I remember also in the news, said, was thanking NECO for improving the educational sector in the state. I don't understand how NECO did that.
Well, I'm thinking that NECO has a lot of work to do, because over time, there's been several complaints with administration in terms of, computerization of names and all of these errors. We can't constantly have all of that. So if they're going to, say they're waking up to say it has to be a compulsory exams, I want to also believe that they're putting their acts together. For instance, you have cases where names are misspelled.
Progress to, improve on our educational system. There's still so much that needs to be done. In 1,000 other ways, and remember that there's still the, WASE examinations, that people will also take, but it's not just, the, senior secondary exams. NECO has different exams that they conduct. And of course, it's a continuing conversation. We'll see where this leads. This is where we end Top Trending this morning. Stay with us. We'll take a short break. When we come back, what major stories are making headlines across Nigeria this morning, we'll be sharing with you with our analyst. Good morning.
for me, I wanted to change that culture. I didn't believe that until you see a white man or you see a foreigner in the kitchen before you can believe that, you know, good food is going to come out of that kitchen.
You can leverage on each other's spaces and, you know, sell. We believe in Nigeria, right? We believe that Nigeria can get better.
Yeah.
Exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
Merry Christmas to everybody in PlusTvAfrica.
This 17.12 trillion naira budget for 2022 adjourns plenary to January 18. National Assembly to transmit 2022 budget today. Lawan is quoted on that. I mean, these are riders you have underneath the bold caption. You also have APC scuttle Electoral Act amendment for fear of 20. Have another bold caption here. Federal government 276.8 billion naira vehement requests. I hope I got that correctly. And just before we move away, NNPC rakes in 203 billion naira from petrol product sales in January. And Air Force promotes 29 air vice marshals and 31 air commandos. This is some of the headlines on the Daily Independence newspaper this morning.
And now to the Punch newspapers. Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Senate backs down on overriding. Petrol subsidy rises, hits 1.16 trillion in 11 months. Billion naira from petrol, kerosene, and diesel sales in 13 months. Federal government declares Monday and Tuesday, January 3rd, also as Yuletide and New Year holidays. DSS operatives kill admission seeker. Suspect released after order from above. And Magodo residents protest planned demolition of buildings as they barricade their gate.
That's what you find. There are several riders underneath. We'll just take a few of them. 4 deaths, 2,123 new cases as Yuletide festivities heighten. You also find Delta State reports 395 cases of Omicron variant. Vaccine inequality, booster programs would prolong pandemic. You have the WHO lamenting. Consensus Nigerians may need a 4th dose of vaccine to ensure protection from Omicron. Experts insist country remains vulnerable to mass 4th and more waves of the variant. That's it. Away from the bold caption. Bandits abduct 70 traders on Kaduna Road. And government unveils 5-year blueprints to refocus economy. Senate passes and raises budget by 800 billion naira to 17.126 trillion. Gunmen kill 7 persons, abduct 5 women in Katsina. Electoral bill, Senate halts action to override Buhari to consult reps. These are the headlines on the Guardian newspaper this morning.
And now to the leadership newspapers. State of the Nation. Convene reconciliation confab now. OBJ, Sultan tell President Muhammadu Buhari. Say insecurity driven largely by social injustice and failed economy. 1999 Constitution lacks principles of justice, fairness and equity. We can also find here Oshun APC leaders unite to unseat Oyeto with that term.
President says jump, and their question is how high. So the thought of them overriding the president was actually a thought that was more infuriating to the people. You know, I don't know if they try to find out what Nigerians think of the National Assembly. There are certain statements they will not even bother to make because we just feel that they are a rubber stamp, you know, and every day they give us more cost. But you see, that's not as important as the fact that we really don't understand. The National Assembly doesn't seem to understand what election is. to them, it's like a game, it's like a play. But the most important are to decline. Election is not the recruitment of a coach, because the project management team determines what our lives is going to be as a people and as a nation, and take elections serious. Now, the Senate is more interested in passing the budget. It means that they have no understanding of the concept of prioritization. The Senate refused to take the electronic transmission of results. That's number one. Number two, all of us in the civil society rose and mounted the level of pressure that is almost unprecedented. And then I'll say, they went back to their cocoons and it's like took and play. So they say, okay, you want it, we give it to you. And clandestinely, they put in something that they knew, ab initio, they knew from the beginning, will not fly. Now, while this was going on, the National Assembly, the presidency through the presidential liaison officer that he has, the Attorney General through his oversight function, knew the law, they knew what was going on, they played the game. So this is a game between these people against the Nigerian people. That's my understanding. When they finally sent the bill to Mr. President, Mr. President on his own part started the second part of the game, where he left it. Meanwhile, he knew when the bargaining was going on, he knew when the debating was going on, he knew when the discussions were going on, he knew people should check. Don't do this. If there was sincerity of purpose, no, that was not done. Then they brought it and kept it for 30 days, the maximum stretch, and sent it back to them when they were supposed to be very busy about to go on recess. In fact, they were so unfortunate that the 30 days did not move into the recess. So when God helped us and the 30 days did not get into the recess, the Senate did, and then the National Assembly, all they needed to do was, what are you going to do? You've consulted, you've discussed, you've done everything for years, 6 years, you've been on it. All they needed to do, okay, Mr. President, if there was sincerity of purpose, you don't like this, would have assented to it. No. National Assembly kick in their own second part. And what is the second part? Oh, we go and consult, and in January we'll be back. When they come back in January, they'll take a while to go through it, will we not, yes or no, and all those things. And then they will send it back to Mr. President. Mr. President will take his good time again to see whether those things align. And do you know what happens? In the amendment, these processes should be 1 year before the elections, and in February, the campaign is supposed to start. So what's going to happen? Mr. President is going to say, on technical grounds, it is not up to 1 year, so it's time bad, let's manage what we have. And then they would have clapped for themselves. Oh, we've succeeded in playing the Nigerian people. But I want to tell them a very sad news for them. We understand the game, and we know what's going on.
Okay.
And we are
in the region.
Yeah, I think it's a positive. I thought they had done that long ago because, this Ebubeagwu had come up a while back. But I guess probably they were looking at the funding structures and other things. So I think it's better late than never. The way the things are now, security is being left in our hands. As the federal government is not giving us what we want for one reason or the other, good or bad, the regionals are taking their own steps, and it's going right down to the industry.
And of course, on the Punch this morning, there's talk about the 2022 budget, 17.126 trillion naira. It says National Assembly to transmit 17 trillion.
3 months, let me not exaggerate and say 6 months, without having headache. I never have headache. I had migraine, terrible headache for about 3 days. Because when you look at the budget, take the budget of Nigeria, look at what was passed, and then go back and look at the implementation. You realize that the budget is just a ritual, it's just a piece of paper that nobody takes serious, down to the state level, and I think it's even worse at the state level. You realize that there's a subhead that had maybe about 20 or 30 million, but the one that had 50 million, you realize that the spend has gone up to maybe about 700 or 800 million. So it's just a manipulative kind of piece of paper that they throw to the public, and then the public looks at it and debates it. At the end of the day, go and look at the implementation. You know, the cash release is what really matters at the end of the day, environment and entry. And what came up was almost scandalous. And I think that the time has come when citizens should actually come in and be a lot more interested in the affairs of state and put pressure on the system to do what they ought to do. These are not our lords, they are our managers recruited by us, and they ought to fear us instead of us fearing them. So I'm not as excited as I should be about the budget, because I really don't see what I should be excited about. If they had given education something like 20%, I would say, yeah, we're thinking. Have you noticed something? Nigeria, and they are so interested in Nigeria tech subsector. Have you noticed that our government don't even know anything about what's going on? Just think about it. The IT subsector. People are coming, look at the unicorns and ask me, how did they get there? How did they get bought at those prices? How did these people get to know? Where is the government? This is one area that the government would have said, wow, this makes in the billions in dollars. Okay. We don't have thinking government, cerebral governance. All they do is budget, oil, share. Meanwhile, there's a